Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today the question is Google's investments in China doing long-term damage to America's security? Now, according to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, this is exactly it. Now, we're talking about General Joseph Dunford, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and he said recently at an event, and I quote, "In my judgment, us assisting the Chinese military in advancing technologically is not in U.S. national interests, so it's a debate we have to have." Now, basically, he expressed the belief that no company can do work in China without it being siphoned off by the government or the military or something else. And I quote again, and I think this is absolutely fascinating. Typically, if a company does business in China, they're automatically going to be required to have a cell of the Communist Party in that company. And that is going to lead to that intellectual property from that company finding its way to the Chinese military. It's a distinction without difference between the Chinese Communist Party, the government, and the Chinese military. Ventures to help develop artificial intelligence in China are going to do two things. They're going to help an authoritarian government to assert control over its own population. Again, our country exists for the individual. China exists for the Communist Party. Now, I find this absolutely interesting because we are actually coming into a new era of globalization of technology where we are open and freely sharing platforms, including advanced ones like artificial intelligence. Now, you may not necessarily remember in the 1990s, but IBM had a supercomputer out called the RS-6000. That thing was basically a Ferrari and a tank all rolled into one. You could use things like weather satellites. You could run a nuclear program off of one of these, and it was forbidden for the United States, or specifically the United States forbade IBM from selling these things to China. And it was a scandal when President Clinton at the time signed a waiver to sell 5 RS-6000s to the Chinese. Congress actually voted to recall all of those devices. We got 4 out of the 5 back. The other one was lost. Now, I remember that very distinctly because that's pretty much when I was getting into politics at the time and thought, holy cow. But now we have a huge software platform. China is building their own supercomputers without any help from major manufacturers of things like processors, Intel, etc. And now they can apply that technology to anything. And as Google continues to develop products for China, like Project Dragonfly, they've been looking at hosting content in China so that with Tencent, which is one of the major players in China, so that they can start bringing Google search technology and AI to Chinese citizens, although it would be very censored. So this is the state of the world that we live in, and I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think on this, because is this damaging U.S. security? And by virtue of that, is it also damaging European security? Because the United States and the EU are very closely aligned when it comes to these kinds of things, not to mention Australia and New Zealand and other places where the United States typically has alliances of a military nature. And so let me know. I'm curious to know what you think about this. Should we be worried about that? Should we just open up the platform and everybody has access to everything? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.